My name is Adam Scroggin, and I am the founder of LFT Software. We do custom software development and custom product development. It all started, I graduated from Purdue in electrical and computer engineering. So I spent most of my time developing products over the past 25 years for Fortune 100, Fortune 500, and even little startups all over the world, actually. So I started there's 4 segments to what we do. The feasibility of building something, which is the engineering, the usability, which is the UI, UX. There's the value, which is kind of like product management, do customers get value from what we provide? And what you were mentioned, there's another quadrant called viable. Yeah, I would use this. Okay, give me $6 a month. Oh, well, I'm not gonna give you $6 a month. So this is your business model, people. And so I've played mostly in the feasible and usable space, but I built a successful SaaS company over the past 5 years, and I've learned a lot about delivering value and monetizing. Let's go ahead and get the next slide. So like I said, I started out in engineering, and a lot of the stuff that we work on today are mobile apps, IoT devices, which can also be, firmware, embedded software, wearables, Apple Watch, the Internet of Things. Everything is connected now. You can get connected refrigerators, connected coffee pots. It's crazy what we can connect to the Internet now. In factories now, in automation, is this little machine over here doing its job? And you were mentioning analytics and data. Man, there is so much data. The big data, you probably heard that term. Hadoop, this huge database. There's so much data we don't know what to do with it. And last but not least, web apps. I've done a lot of web apps over the past 6, 7, 8, 9 years. Right now we're doing Next.js, Chopper UI, Supabase, really cool cloud services. I've done .NET, AWS in the past. That can really get expensive, but it's a really cool open source community right now where you can get a bunch of libraries in JavaScript for free, Vercel, Heroku. You could deploy to these hosting platforms for anywhere from starting $8, $9 a month. I think for Vercel, I pay around $20 a month. 20 times 12, what is that? $240 a year to host a website with all those users. That's what we're doing. That's how inexpensive it can be. So feasibility and tech, that's the cornerstone of where I started and the cornerstone of what we do. We'll go to the next slide. Usability. It started as human factors engineering. I got to work with some human factor engineers back in the day when I was working on medical devices, patient-controlled analgesic infusion pumps in hospitals, the things that deliver things like morphine and fentanyl. You don't know what you're doing, you're going to kill the person. I got to work on that kind of stuff. Where people make mistakes, where the software or the user interface is not clear. So I helped build a practice at the old company I was at, the UI, the UX piece. And for those of you who don't know, Indianapolis, or you may call it Ruoff, I call it Deer Creek. Up here is Deer Creek, and if you're familiar with this exit off of 69, I call this the 5-point roundabout of death. The double crisscross applesauce. You drive on the left side of the road through here. It's so crazy, and there are so many accidents up here. And if you go to the next slide, I like to get roasted on Facebook. I think with my first post to the Fishers Chatters group, I became a top contributor immediately. This is a terrible accident that occurred outside the roundabout. This car was flipped over. This Mustang is toast. But if you've ever been through this, it is a I see someone shaking their head. A very confusing, and there are accidents every day. And people say, well, they need to have their licenses revoked. Well, if you've been through it the very first time, a 5-point roundabout, double laner, and Olio seems to get the right of way. There are signs everywhere. There's people who've never been there getting off of 69 and saying, why am I on the left side of the road? Is this England? No. And a lot of people say, just people don't know how to drive. It is a cognitive overload. And another book I'm reading for the second time is by Steve Krug, don't make me think. There's just so much overload there. The simplicity. Even when my designs fail, I don't say, oh, this is a user's fault. I always look at the root cause and see, can we improve? And the answer is usually yes. People make mistakes, we're human. So that's the usability, UI, UX, graphic design. Yes, there's making it pretty, but making it usable, making it safe is also important. All right, so for the past 6 years, I've been playing in a new space. What is valuable and what is viable? I don't know if anyone has read The Lean Startup here by Eric Ries. It's a really good book, but before Eric, there's a guy named Stephen Blank. And he wrote the 4 steps to an epiphany. And you can get the first 2 chapters for free from Stanford. Stanford is a great resource for free information, by the way. They put a lot of stuff out there for free. No, you don't get the piece of paper, but you can get the same education that those Stanford young kids are getting too. Anyway, Stephen actually went to the University of Michigan and dropped out after 1 semester. Then served in Vietnam, came back, went to Silicon Valley, and was a part of a lot of successful startups in Silicon Valley. And he shared what he learned. And I've read this, and what he learned, okay, here's the bad news. 80 to 90% of the products that are going to be developed are going to fail. Here's the good news. The reasons why they fail are usually known. Anyone have a Microsoft Zune or know what a Zune is? It was actually better than the iPod when it came out. It had better quality, but Apple just had that coolness factor. And okay, everything Apple develops is successful, right? Anyone remember what an Apple Newton is? What was it? PDA. They were ahead of their time, and no one adopted it. I think the Palm Pilot was like, oh wow, look at these things. Like, that's when it became cool. Anyone remember Motorola's Iridium satellite phone system? This was an engineering feat. $5 billion invested. But nobody wanted it. It was expensive. Like, oh, you can call anyone around the world, but this is back in the 90s. Like, I just want to call my grandma down the street, I'm not going to pay $300 a month. No one could afford it, And then, in the meantime, people are putting up little cell towers. Oh, this is cool and affordable. So $5 billion. Anytime anyone comes to you with a great idea and says it involves satellites, make sure you at least have $1 billion ready. At least $1 billion ready. So yeah, highly recommend. Like I said, okay, 80 to 90% are going to fail. But the good news is we do understand the reasons why they fail. You kind of touched on this. Number one thing that people fail to do is what's called customer development. Educating your customers on your product. You need to go out there and find the early adopters, the people who are willing to take risks, try your product out, educate them, and then iterate, make it better, and the rest of the crowd will come. Usually, nothing is guaranteed in life.
And I have a first question is, who's your ideal client right now? Like because you have a lot, you just went through a lot of the different things that you're able to do and the importance of design. Would you have a few clients that you do very specialized work for, or would you like to do a lot of different kinds of work for different clients, or what does that look like for you right now?
My niche over the years has been in automotive engineering, medical device and life sciences engineering, SaaS, software as a service. I've built a successful SaaS company over the years. But someone who has a great idea, has the pockets, but has stepped in pitfall after pitfall after pitfall. I've made those mistakes. I've learned some things. Like I said, I've done this for 25 years. My niche, I love automotive, I love medical device, I love SaaS, I love people who want to adopt contemporary technology and use it for good, to make our world a better place. It's very